So the process of composting is the natural cycle of nature that returns flora and fauna back to soil where it can then be reutilised by the forest. So on the forest floor we can see we've got all the fallen leaf material, which is fairly high in carbon once it dries out like this, and as we dig in we find that there's actually some moisture present. Even though we haven't had rain for quite a few days, the canopy of the forest and then the fallen leaf material itself maintains the moisture in the soil. And then in fact there we even have a worm in here.
As part of our composting program, today we're going to be installing an anaerobic compost bin. We're going to be tweaking it a little bit by installing some aerobic elements which will speed up what is normally a slow anaerobic process. This is the anaerobic bin we'll be using. It's made from recycled plastic and it's a 400 litre bin. We wish to select a site for our compost bin that is close to the house within zone 1 so that we can access it readily. Having marked out the shape of the bin, we've cleared a little trench that we can seat the bin into, then backfill the bin on either side. Going to be adding here is our boost tube. What this is a standard bit of 90mm PVC pipe available from most hardware stores that we've drilled out with 100 or so holes. What this will do, we'll insert this down the centre of the bin and cap it, so we'll add an aerobic component to our otherwise anaerobic bin, which will speed up by providing air around the shaft, around the heart of the bin. It will speed up the composting process there, and we'll also be adding down the centre of this booster tube some worms, which will also add a vermicast production to the system. What we've now done is add the turbo boost tube through the centre of the bin by pressing it firmly into the soil about 10 centimetres, so that's quite secure. We then cap the turbo boost tube so that any compost that is thrown on top of it remains on the outside and allows us to keep a column of air through the centre of the bin. So we are turning our basic anaerobic compost bin, we are introducing an element of aerobic composting and an element of worm farming. So we have 3 systems operating in one. We're also going to put a layer of high carbon material at the base of the bin which will be slow to decompose, and then cover this layer in newspaper and cardboard so that there is, as well as an air pocket down the centre of the bin, there is also an air pocket underneath the bin. We're now going to lay down some cardboard, recycled cardboard, through which we've added a lot of holes. So again, this is just creating a aerated base to this 3-stage system. What we have here is the leftover food scrap. It's still high in nutrient. What is often considered a waste is actually a resource. What we're doing is returning this nutrient to the soil, closing the loop on the farming process by sending it first through a compost bin, which will break it down to soil, and then back into the field. This is the beginning of cooking. This is the beginning of food preparation. Like any food preparation, it's important to play with the balance of elements. In the case of compost, we're wanting to get the carbon to nitrogen ratio right. This tends to be high in nitrogen and moisture. This tends to be high in carbon. What we've now done is gone and gathered some leaves from the same property so as to keep the nutrients on the property, which we'll be layering in with our nitrogen. So there'll be a layer of nitrogen, a layer of carbon, a layer of nitrogen, a layer of carbon. This again provides the ideal recipe to feed the microorganisms